and more on South Memorial Drive in Prattville.
Blue Water Broadcasting is the #1 most listened to radio group in the River region. Find out how to put this reach to work for your business. Call us to find out how we can help. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folk helping local business.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
You're listening
to Joey Clark.
Joey Clark.
It's Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program, folks. Over the weekend, I was thinking about two things. One was, a name I ran across for Jesus in the Litany of the Sacred Heart. And I ran across it a few months back, but it stuck with me. Desire of the everlasting hills, have mercy on us. Desire of the everlasting hills. And I believe the hills, the everlasting hills, are the prophets and the patriarchs. And their desire was always aiming towards Christ. And in fact, the scriptural basis for this is the blessing Jacob gives to Joseph, saying in Genesis 49:26, the blessing of thy father are strengthened with the blessings of his fathers, until the desire of the everlasting hills should come. May they be upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the Nazarite among his brethren. But then I got going over the weekend and started thinking about an old song, memory, like one of the first ones I tried to learn. And I tried, and it still stuck with me. I don't play it particularly well or play exactly as the album does, but like I said, don't play particularly well, especially in this precarious position here in the studio. But, I got thinking about that. Over the hills and far away. Over the hills and far away. Do you still know that song, My Father Asked Me? Looking at the beat-up acoustic guitar in my hands. Which one, I ask in return? The one you first learned. My hands start to play from muscle memory before my mind can tell them what to do. Some melodies flow from marrow and bone. You know them so well, the mind doesn't even really have to choose. And as I watch my fingers dance on the fretboard through hammer-ons and pull-offs with the flick of my wrist, as though they're independent of my mind, it seems I am watching the hands of my younger self play the song for the very first time. That's the one, my father says with a wistful look in his eye. He too seems to have been spirited away to a different place and time upon hearing me start to play. I remember it was like yesterday, he says, listening to you in your upstairs bedroom right above your mother and me, trying to play that thing over and over again. And failing over and over again. Then one day, we kind of got it. I don't think I could forget it now, even if I try, I say. What's that one called again, he asks. Over the hills and far away. Now, a lot of people know it as the Hey Lady song, but it's a song of wonder and wanderlust, of silver-lined dreams and a pocket full of gold, of saying hey to ladies. and pondering how much there is to know out on the open road. Led Zeppelin's 1973 Over the Hills and Far Away was the near-perfect song for a lonely millennial teenage boy born with an old soul. Perfect enough that through sheer repetition, he was inspired to etch it into his muscle, marrow, and bone. Yet playing the tune again 20 years removed today, I now notice how the song points beyond what Page and Plant's hippie sensibilities had to say all the way back in 73, and beyond what my teenage dreams could have ever fathomed in learning to play the iconic opening riff. That even the most worldly of desires ultimately longs for transcendence. To be clear, I don't regret learning it, not one bit. The riff remains a gift. It's grown alongside me with time. It always comes back to me even after I've neglected to play it for a while, and still makes my father smile when I play it. It reminds me of how, after all these years, my hopes and dreams have changed. A musical anchor amidst the shifting joys and rancor of what life finds over the hills and far away. Over the hills and far away, we first find hope in youth's potential and the innocence that makes our many possibilities as exciting and new as a child at play. Over the hills and far away, we then find all our first are consequential, and that even for the best of days, there's always a price to pay. Over the hills and far away, we then finally find the cost of our many dreams start to take their toll. That even the good we've done grows cold alongside all the mistakes we've made, and even the music of the old hills will fade. Yet where in my youth the music seemed to be all I would ever need, and just the enjoyment of playing could overflow the cup of my soul, I now believe the music is but a small drop that flows from an unseen source much deeper than mere marrow and bone. I now believe I know where the music of the world comes from and where it must lead. Yes, all the music of my youth must fade away, of all our youth must fade away, only to give way to a truly abiding theme. Despite life's inevitable tragedy, over the hills and far away we must go, with our fleeting melodies and memories in tow. For as the wisest weary traveler knows, the desire of the everlasting hills flows from a holy stream, set apart, pierced, and crowned at Calvary. All the songs of those old hills, the patriarchs and prophets have taught us to sing, have longed for harmony in Christ the King. I hope my father knows. When he asked if I still know the song he first heard me learn to play, that when I play it again, he need not know how to play guitar to follow along the way. I hope that when he smiles at the music sewn into the muscle and marrow of his son, he will see the unseen source of all and come to believe as I now believe. Before our days carry us over the hills and far away. This I sing, this is I play, this I play. This I humbly pray. Welcome into the program. Thank God for another beautiful day. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful show. And Montgomery needs a new mayor. And also, New York City needs to stop it with the socialism. You're going to run out of food. I'm just warning you, you're going to run out of food. Also, Iran better make a deal or Trump is just going to blow them into smithereens. Now, he keeps threatening it. But I don't know if he's actually... How long is he actually going to wait until they cry uncle before he blows up a lot of things that can't be replaced, in particular human lives? Continue to pray for peace, folks. Pray for peace. Also, I saw it's real big news. It's real big news, especially for your aunt of a certain age. Maybe it's your sister. Maybe it's your mother. But it's a lady of a certain age with a certain political persuasion. I believe I saw this headline correctly. Starting next year, Rosie O'Donnell's back on The View, baby. just in time for the Dems to have taken over the House and they can impeach Trump and you can go sip your wine and take your Xanax and watch Rosie on The View. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. But I saw that and thought, well, that's big news. Rosie O'Donnell's coming back. I thought she moved out of the country. We also have RFK Jr., an incredible interview on CNN with Dana Bash, where he just goes off on her because she stops pretending any pretense of just asking basic questions, and she goes off on him as well. And RFK Jr. was waiting for this moment to rip not only into Dana Bash, but into CNN and so many of the folks there. So we'll get to that. Fascinating interview. Also, over across the pond, on the question of Islam, there was a motion in front of the Debate Society, the Oxford Union. Should the West be suspicious of Islam? And it was quite a remarkable debate on many fronts. Now, you can say much about Islam, especially the political aspect of it, how it regards human rights in nations where it is dominant, how it regards other religions in nations where it is dominant. You can look at the history. You can look at the interpretations. How might that actually be played out? Should the West let more Muslims in terms of immigration policy? Have we let too many in? I think Europe has. In the United States, we just need to, it's an immigration problem. Though, if you live in certain parts of Michigan, maybe you don't believe that. Maybe it's much bigger than just an immigration problem at that point in that part of the country. But, you know, for all the political things you can say about Islam, and inflammatory things you can say about Islam, I would just like to say, watching that debate, that more and more folks should just simply say, it's false. It's wrong. It's false. It's especially false on Jesus Christ. Now, are there hopes that you can reach people of all backgrounds and have them convert and see their ways, especially if they were raised in a particular faith, and especially if being raised in that faith, there's a lot of pressure, like perhaps even violent pressure to stay in the faith? That's what we'll get to today, all these topics. Anyway, there's a reason I'm playing guitar in public. I get too nervous. I can talk my butt off, but whatever. Love you, Dad. 272-9228 if you want to get in on any of these topics. We'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
In today's market, one of the most misunderstood steps of buying a home is getting pre-approved. Some people avoid it because they think it means they're committing to buy right now, while others rush through it online without understanding what their purchasing power really is and the next steps in the process. Here's the truth. A pre-approval provides clarity. It tells you what you can do, not what you have to do. It helps you shop with confidence instead of guessing, and it gives you real numbers based on your finances, not estimates from an online calculator. At Alabama Home Mortgage, pre-approval is about preparation, education, and strategy. Whether you're ready to buy next month or next year, we help you understand your options so you can move forward on your timeline. And if you're not quite ready yet, that's okay. We'll help you get there because smart home ownership requires precision, not a rush decision. Let us help you prepare so when the right opportunity comes along, you're ready. Give us a call at Alabama Home Mortgage today, 334-567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's My Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
Trust is the number one reason why a patient chooses a healthcare provider. Adams Drugs has been your trusted healthcare provider since 1962 and has been voted the number one pharmacy in the River region for many years. We strive each and every day to provide you the level of healthcare you have come to expect from Adams Drugs. The employees at Adams Drugs take pride in developing relationships with their patients, from making sure your prescriptions are filled correctly to getting to know you and your family's needs and following up on any questions you may have. Adams Drugs employees deliver top-notch service. We ask you to visit us at any of our locations in Montgomery, Prattville, Wetumpka, Millbrook, and Pine Level Marbury and give us a chance to earn your business. You can find us at adamsdrugs.net for the location that is nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local, independently owned Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. It was a higher open for Wall Street this morning, with stocks rising and oil prices falling after President Trump called off a planned attack on Iran. Brent crude, the international standard, fell $4.27 or 4.9% to $83.66 per barrel. U.S. benchmark crude lost $4.86, 5.8% to $79.81 per barrel. This week will bring a slew of labor market data, highlighted by the government's July jobs report due for release on Friday. Earnings season is in high gear, with dozens of major companies reporting their latest profits. That includes SpaceX, McDonald's, Disney, and Uber, among others. Tokyo and Washington are both confirming action has been taken that's aimed at propping up the value of the Japanese yen against the U.S. dollar. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Victoryland.
Win a BMW X7 or your share of $25,000 in free play during Victoryland Casino's BMW and $25,000 free play giveaway. The more you visit, the more chances you have to win. Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. Pretty standard forecast for the early part of the month of August. Today, a good bit of sunshine with a high temperature in the lower 90s. Yes, there will be some random scattered showers and storms here and there, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours today and tomorrow, but really only a few towns will be affected. Many towns will stay dry. Low temperatures tonight and tomorrow night with mostly clear skies in the lower 70s. Not much day-to-day change this week, but I think temperatures will be edging back to the mid-90s by the middle of the week. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Back to school shopping starts now, and ASC Credit Union has you covered. Our back to school loan helps you pay for supplies, laptops, clothes, and more. Stop by your local ASC branch or apply today at yourasccu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Terms and conditions apply.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark. Joey Clark. Joey Clark. Joey Clark. You're listening to Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now let's get to RFK Jr. Some calling this a career-ending interview for Dana Bash, but I think that's a bit hyperbolic. She's done a lot of bad ones. In fact, she was doing her job, and how her, say, bosses wanted to press Kennedy and defend themselves, obtusely, of course. The problem is CNN and so many folks hid behind the so-called experts and the science. And they still want to play that game of, well, experts say and the science says. And a lot of folks just ain't buying it, especially not Bobby Kennedy Jr. He is, he's done with just sitting there like a potted plant, though he never really was one, really. So here is, well, let's jump right into it. This is RFK Jr. on State of the Union on CNN. This has gone viral. A lot of folks reacting. Let's react together.
Nearly all the blame on the COVID pandemic and the way that the U.S. responded to it squarely with Dr. Fauci. But of course, he worked for President Trump. Does President Trump also deserve some of the blame?
Well, President Trump, as you recall, wanted to end the lockdowns. I think the thing that did the most damage to our country was the lockdowns that shut down 3.5 million businesses in our country with no due process, no just compensation. All of our churches closed our schools, and our children are still paying the price for that. And yet we had the worst outcome of any country in the world.
How so?
We have the highest death rate from COVID of any nation on earth.
Well, let me just say, because I've heard you say that before on the death rate from COVID. It's not accurate because public health experts say that there is a combination of factors that went into that: higher rates of chronic illnesses, which I know you would agree with, gaps to our healthcare system, and misinformation about vaccines.
Experts say there's a lot of factors that go into it. So what he said was true. It was true. And you're just trying to dissemble it, acting like the factors or an explanation of why that death rate is true somehow contradicts it. This is, well, he can handle himself.
You just said what I said was inaccurate. What I said was accurate. We had the highest death rate from COVID of any place.
There are other countries that had higher, but
you can argue
go ahead
about why we had that, but nobody can tell you. I mean, we have, as you say, we have the highest chronic disease burden in the world. But Anthony Fauci was mismanaging the COVID pandemic, and he was doing it under the Biden administration. President Trump wanted to end the lockdowns. And in fact, in Anthony Fauci's diaries, he talks about how President Trump is calling him every day, trying to get him to reopen the country.
Yeah, well, the lockdowns were done by governors. I mean, certainly Anthony Fauci and the president had opinions, but the lockdowns were done by governors, and largely because they were hearing from hospitals saying that their ICUs were overrun and they needed some help while that was happening.
Well, that's not true. That's just not true.
It is
what you're saying is not true. No, they were doing it because Anthony Fauci was telling them from the top, you need to lock down. There were ICUs that were empty all over the country, including in New York at the height.
I'm asking you, I'm going to go back to what I asked you at the beginning, which is President Trump. And he was.
Isn't this just really Trump's fault?
And you tweeted back in 2024 that he let bureaucrats like Anthony Fauci shut down the entire country. Again,
right, that's kind of RFK's point.
The president was trying to reopen the country when he left. The country was kept closed for another year, almost a year and a half after that.
Let's talk about how to prevent the next pandemic. Because there's a lot of litigating and relitigating that I don't think is really helpful to do with regard to COVID. And the question is about so-called gain of function, which for people who aren't entirely clear about it, it is a highly risky research process that includes manipulating a virus to study how it behaves as it evolves.
But she just, I think she's just fundamentally dishonest. There's so much we don't really need to do in terms of relitigating all this stuff. That's just, as you opened with relitigating it, trying to pass the blame from Dr. Fauci, your best buddy, onto Trump, without focusing on what is actually the huge news story, which is the release of not some private diary, but literally a public log that Fauci had his aides help him put together and write in real time so he could later write a book. That's what was released to the public. Anyway, let's keep going.
The Constitution was written.
Forgive me, but you're talking about rights, and I'm asking about a potential
pandemic, and many other global pandemics that we have come from gain of function research. The RSV epidemic that we have, that is the biggest killer of kids in this country today, came from these kind of experiments. The Lyme disease almost certainly came from this kind of research. So, and the scientists who you say are experts are making the argument that this is necessary for pandemic response. Cannot point to one instance in history where research that came out of this kind of experimentation has actually provided us something beneficial.
So how do you prepare then? How do you prepare for the next pandemic? I mean, that's literally part of your job now, because experts think it's going to happen within the next 10 years again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did virtually everything wrong the last time.
So what about now?
The principal thing that we need to do is we need to listen to what's happening to doctors on the ground. There are 15 million frontline physicians around the world. They're mainly now connected through the internet. We can tell on the front lines what's working and what's not. If we had listened to those doctors during the COVID pandemic, we would have saved potentially millions of lives. There were therapeutics out there that were working. There were doctors that were having no deaths from COVID and treating, in some cases, thousands of patients. And we weren't listening to them. Instead, we were doing the opposite. We were shutting them down. And then, Dana, the other thing that I would say is that we need to protect our constitutional rights. That is the primary obligation of our country. What does that mean? Well, during COVID, we completely dismantled our constitutional rights. We began censoring people in violation of the First Amendment.
But you're saying what not to do. I'm asking what to do. But I want to talk about.
Well, that's something to do. That is the number one priority. We protect the Constitution. The Constitution was written.
Forgive me, but you're talking about rights, and I'm asking about a potential public health crisis that is coming. But I do want to
And one of the mistakes we made in the last time was suppressing those rights so people weren't being heard.
Yep.
Doctors who were saying you're doing it wrong were being marginalized and vilified.
Yeah.
And
because again, I really want to move on. But
you asked the question.
Yes, I do. You were part of the problem.
No.
Amen, brother.
There was absolute press malpractice. You weren't allowing
Mr. Secretary,
your job is a fierce skepticism toward authority. And
yes,
you weren't doing that. You were beating up
My
on
job
people
is also
who were dissenting.
No. Okay. You want to sit here and attack me, or do you want to have conversations
about
public health?
Me.
I'm not attacking you. I'm asking questions about how to prevent the next pandemic.
Question and I'll tell you.
That's what I'm trying to do. But I also don't want to use this interview to allow you to say things that aren't entirely true. You're talking about therapeutics, fine. It is also factually true that the COVID vaccine worked. The COVID vaccine prevented deaths. There is data upon data upon data. Let's talk about the measles, please, because this is something that is happening as we speak. The cases in the U.S.
vaccine protected children.
I think that what I have talked to scientists and doctors about.
Scientists. Can you show me one study?
Yes, I can.
That shows that
I can.
Children were protected by the COVID vaccine.
I can tell you that
that vaccine did more good than harm to children. Can you show me one study that shows that?
I can tell you that when it comes to the vaccine, there have been studies that show that because of vaccine disinformation, there could have been 100 to 200,000 lives in the U.S. saved. But because people didn't get the vaccine, that's why. I'm not saying that it entirely.
You are saying nonsense. You are saying something that you cannot show me a single study.
I am not saying nonsense.
You are talking what somebody told you.
Excuse me.
And you
Amen, brother. Keep going.
What study?
No, what studies are you talking about? You're talking about studies that actually don't exist. I want to talk about.
Cite me the study that you're talking about.
I am not here to defend.
Studies. Cite me the study.
This is not productive. I am not here to defend all of the. Let me
you're
finish.
Talking nonsense. You're making assertions you can't support, and then when I call you on them, you're telling me that I'm arguing.
Okay.
With
Do you want to talk about assertions that you can't support? I'll get there in a second. Let me just say, for the record, that I am not saying that the entire way that the COVID reaction was accurate. It was a scary time, and people made mistakes. Absolutely.
You were scaring people.
Why are you saying that?
Because that was the job of CNN.
Okay.
Was to put the chyrons up about how many people are dying.
We were trying to we were listening to the leaders in this country, including the president, who had a daily press conference explaining what was going on and trying to listen.
Were you listening?
I want to talk to measles.
Actually, were you reading the science yourself?
The measles cases in the U.S. just reached a 35-year high. The second record-breaking year in a row. 93% of these cases are among the unvaccinated. The outbreak has happened on your watch. And even before becoming HHS secretary, for years, you have been one of the leading voices questioning the efficacy of vaccines. Do you accept some responsibility for this measles outbreak?
Absolutely not. First of all, this is an international outbreak. So, and we're doing better at handling it than any country in the world. Mexico has 15 times the amount of measles per capita that we have. Canada has 4 times the amount of measles. England has 2 times the amount of measles. Did I cause those measles outbreaks?
You're the most famous.
Did I cause 137,000 cases?
You're the most famous vaccine skeptic on the planet.
Let me tell you, because actually Anthony Fauci in his diaries answers the question about why we're having a measles outbreak right now. The reason we're having a measles outbreak because of the COVID lockdowns, because children during that period did not get vaccinated. And in his diaries, he says this is going to cause massive outbreaks of measles and more children. He says this are going to die. Let me finish, because you could accuse me of something.
Right.
Now, let me.
No, I didn't. I asked you a question.
Yeah, let me give you the answer. He says in his diaries, more children are going to die from measles because of these lockdowns than COVID. So if you want to know, and that age group that should have gotten the MMR when they're 18 months and didn't get it, they're the ones being infected. The people in this country, and we have stopped the outbreaks at record speed in South Carolina, in Texas, in Utah, in Virginia. We've done better than any country in the world. I dispatch immediately the epidemic intelligence services to those states. I get on the phone with the governor and we stop them in their tracks. Nobody else has been able to do that.
You have a bully pulpit.
Let me tell you just one last thing.
Go ahead.
The communities that are suffering from measles are almost all religious communities that just don't vaccinate. The Mennonites have not vaccinated since 1796, since Edward Jenner
Just their right.
invented the smallpox vaccine. It's hard to blame that. I mean, as much as you want to blame
No,
it
I don't
on
want to
me.
blame you. I'm asking you because you have a very powerful voice on these issues for people who are skeptical. Let me finish. Let me finish.
And I've never questioned the efficacy of the MMR vaccine.
Okay, let me finish.
I've
What I want you to do is please use your bully pulpit to right now, as we're getting close to back to school, are you willing to say to parents who have not vaccinated their kids that they should vaccinate their kids for measles because it is safe and it will help them save their children's lives?
We tell people on my websites, my public
Right now,
pronouncement, I'll
look
say
into the
it right
camera.
now that parents should get their children vaccinated for measles. A measles vaccine is effective. It stops measles in about 97% of the cases. So people should get vaccinated.
Can I ask you, the Wall Street Journal reported that the president is pressuring you to conduct studies probing the link between vaccines and autism. Is that true?
Did you say probing the link?
I'm just quoting the Wall Street Journal, that the president wants you to go further to probe the link between autism and vaccines.
He certainly does.
Okay. Now, have you talked to him about medical research that have studied this for 25 years and found no link between autism and vaccines? And this is my question here, because I don't want to litigate that. My question is, why not, because you are HHS secretary now, why not study what could cause autism, which scientists do believe starts with fetal brain development?
They've been doing that. This is the strangest. This is why I don't watch cable news anymore. But it's great for RFK Jr. pushing back, standing up for himself. But the framing, how accusatory every question is, it's very dishonest. Oh, and it's very, well, she has an agenda. She is certainly driving. And some of that is a CYA operation for her own organization during the COVID era. And again, it's acting like RFK Jr., this last question, hasn't been talking about the autism thing since he got in there and long before it and what potentially causes it. The whole MAHA movement's been talking about this longer than Dana Bash has. And yet she frames as like, well, maybe y'all should look into a holistic way and not just focus on the vaccines. Is it because you get all your money from Big Pharma? Is it really just a mercenary thing? A money thing? Keep going.
Why not do some studies on that, whether you're an environmental lawyer, whether there are environmental factors that go into contributing to a predisposed genetic situation?
Well, let me say this first. We're doing all those things, and that's one of the ways that we found Tylenol. There's 73 studies out there that link Tylenol exposure during later pregnancy and during the perinatal period to autism onset. But you are wrong when you say that this issue has been studied. It has been studied, and you're rolling your eyes, Dana. But
I am, because I don't want to have you use our air to say this. There have been more than 40 studies involving 5.6 million people to conclude there is no link between vaccines and autism.
What's the method of the study?
Of the Committee of Infectious Diseases for the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Now let me tell you what the Institute of Medicine says, which is the National Academy of Sciences, which is the ultimate arbiter on vaccine safety, and which it does not have an interest in this debate. It says that none of the 8 vaccines that are administered during the first 6 months of life have ever been studied for relationship to autism. It found 2 studies, one on the DTP vaccine that showed that it does cause autism, and one on the hepatitis B vaccine that again suggests that it does cause autism. The Institute of Medicine dismissed those 2 studies because they were based on CDC's database. The studies that you're referring to are all for one vaccine, the MMR vaccine, or one ingredient, thimerosal.
So you are actually looking at, you're starting new studies to try to link autism, but you're also telling me—
I'm not trying to link autism to anything. I'm trying to find out
what's
why
true.
is autism
Are you also trying to find out how it interacts with people's DNA, what's predisposed to have an autistic child? Are you doing both?
Yeah, but Dana, you probably don't understand this because you're not a scientist, but genes
you're not
don't
either.
Genes don't cause epidemics.
I understand. Genes,
They can
epidemics.
provide a vulnerability.
A
but you
gene
need
provides
environmental exposure.
That's what I'm asking. Are you studying the environmental
We're looking
exposure?
at all the different environmental exposures, but your statement, you have been fooled. Your statement that this has been studied is not true. It's categorically
It is
not
considered.
true. Not for any of the studies.
It is considered.
Considered by who?
By every scientist
Every
who
scientist?
has studied this.
Every
That is
scientist
not
studied?
true. I
It
can
is
give you
true.
hundreds of scientists who have looked at this.
So
and
on the
say,
one
why
hand,
is
do you understand
it?
why
It's
people
the
aren't
National
getting?
Academy of Sciences. What greater authority
Do you
have
understand
than
why
that?
people are not getting measles vaccines? Because they're hearing you say that it could
You're
cause
trying
autism.
to change the subject.
I'm not. It's very much
Yeah, you are.
related.
Show me one of the studies that's been done on the first 8 the vaccines during the first 6 months of life. You will not find them. The National Academy of Sciences.
So
say
if that's
they
the
do not
case, then why are
exist.
you telling people to get the
people,
measles vaccine?
Because that is one of the vaccines that has been studied.
Okay.
It's the only one that has been studied.
Do you want people to get the MMR vaccine?
Yeah, I said that already.
Okay, so
I know you're flustered now, and it is.
I don't.
it is
I'm
Now
not
you're
frustrated at all.
Because
I am
people have not
frustrated.
been honest
The
with
reason
you.
I'm frustrated is because
you repeat
you
things
are
saying
the
the experts say
HHS.
this.
You are the HHS secretary, and you are talking about things that lead to vaccine hesitancy
My
in
God.
this country, and it is something that causes.
Perhaps people should just say what they believe, especially at the highest levels, and let people decide. But apparently, the model that Dana Bash and so many folks that have run our media companies for a long time is people are too damn stupid to think for themselves, so we must use things often that aren't fully true to scare the crap out of them. We have to treat the public like children. The reason there's hesitancy is because people don't trust you anymore, and people don't trust you anymore because you've treated them like children for ages and ages and ages. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely, well, revealing. And we definitely live in a different era where, what are CNN's numbers now? Anyway, thank you for Bobby Kennedy actually sticking up for himself and pushing back on that nonsense. Like, just such a, maybe Dana Bash is just so in her own bubble, she's oblivious to her own dishonesty, but I doubt it. And I don't understand this sacred cow line they want to still draw in the sand around just the word vaccines. given there's all sorts of different types of vaccines. And there's different ways, different technologies those vaccines are created and delivered. And there has been a ridiculous, for instance, increase in autism in the population. Why? We'd like to know. And in fact, we are looking at everything, including Tylenol. We had Trump come out and go, pregnant women, don't take the Tylenol. You might have a headache. It might suck, but you got to tough it out. Don't take the Tylenol. But when we say we should look at everything about why has there been a rise in autism, should not say certain vaccines be on the table to at least study? Yeah, and I think some of this is just mercenary. This is a matter of money, and a lot of money still flows from, say, the companies that make a crap load of money off vaccines, and this sort of approach. Well, a lot of their money flows into these old, dying corporate media networks. In fact, we might even get some trade spots here nationally, but, it's not like I like them. Anyway, we got to hit a quick break. First, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services, and they're at Pest Pro Ashley and that great team are ready to help you out with any and all of your pest control needs. And, of course, that could mean you need a great company to do basic pest control for you. And they are great. They show up on a regular basis. It's just a monthly subscription model. Come around, spray around the property. Most of the time, don't even have to go inside to make sure your house is bug-free, insect-free, pest-free. Of course, if you have issues that are acute, like a big termite problem that you're worried about, or maybe you just haven't had the property checked for termites in a while, or perhaps you're looking for fire ant removal, or mosquito removal. They can do all this sort of thing. Or maybe there's like a squirrel in your attic. Pest Pro can handle that too. So check them out today. You can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces or just call them direct. 265-9990. That's 265-9990. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. Quick break. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
I'm a better looking person than Kamala. Is that how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Folks, you know this song means it's time for one of the most interesting callers in Radio Land. The one, the only, Papa B. Hey, Papa B, how you doing?
I'm never going to use to that. It's not my own theme music, dude. I'm doing good. It's been a few days since I've called in.
Yeah.
But been listening. I had surgery on my foot.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Taylor's bunion. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh, my God, a bunion.
Where the bones of your, little toe poke out of the side of your foot, and they had to go in there and get them straightened back up.
Oh, my goodness. I think I have the beginnings of something like that. I noticed that the other day.
Don't let it get out of hand, bud. It's painful. So anyway, you've heard Eddie, I'm sure has heard this. Maybe you have too, because I think I've referenced it before. In sales, there's a sales technique that's called the presumptive close.
Yeah.
right? It's
Yes or
like-
yes, Papa B. Yes or yes.
Yeah, exactly. You go in there and say, okay, so how many do you want? Do you want 6 or do you want a dozen? I mean, the question is, you're going to get some. You're going to get the sale's made. Now it's just a matter of how much you want. Dana Bass's questions are typical, very, very typical of the media. It's a presumptive questioning. They have a conclusion already, and they're trying to herd you toward that conclusion.
It built into the premise of the question, and if you attack the premise, they're like, "You're not answering the questions." Yeah, because the premise is wrong.
That's right. That they're not being, true journalists. They're being advocates. They're advocates of their opinion because true journalists, they're going to want to truly understand or know, and ask with good faith a question of whoever they're interviewing. Let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. But no, Dana Bash has a presupposed way of you're supposed to think me, you, everybody, RFK, and if you don't conform to that with your answer or with your way of thinking, then you're going to just shut you down.
Right.
That is our media today. It has been for a very long time. One of the things I used to say, Dan, and I used to get a laugh out of this, I said, stop trying to tell me what to think.
Right.
Stop trying to tell me what to say. I can figure it out myself. You just tell me the facts, and I will figure out what I think about it. But that's what our media does. They, have a worldview, and they are pushing that worldview even when they're acting like they're not. And that is really the genesis of the discombobulation in our.
And one of my favorite lines, I guess it's from a fella I hadn't watched a while, but I love him. Michael Malice said, "The corporate press is factual but not truthful. They're very good at stringing together a bunch of facts that often, without context, are in fact false. But the way they put the story together often is just ain't true."
Well, and you heard Dana there stringing along a bunch of quote unquote facts that were not true.
Right.
But throwing it out there as if it were true. And so they do that a lot too, So yeah, maybe they have, a few facts, but mostly half truths and lies. Or if they do have a fact, they've got a certain twist to it to make it conform to their worldview.
Right.
So no, I don't believe anything Dana Bash has to say. Now, I mean, I don't particularly have any kind of love for RFK Jr., but he's right about a lot of things, and he was trying to make some points. But Dana Bash she didn't want to listen to it, and that's what we get with the mainstream press.
I love that he called her out, though, straight up. Like, you were scaring people. That's what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we were listening to the public health officials. The public health officials were trying to scare people.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is, how in the world do they keep on trying to blame Trump? Trump was as much a victim as this whole thing as anybody else was. He was trying to pay attention to the scientists. Right. They were telling him what to do. He was trying to follow the scientists. And I know that people have this conspiracy idea that, well, he knew what was going on. He just didn't want to do anything about it. That is wholesale BS. Yeah, wholesale BS. And to prove it, he took the shot. What more proof do you need? He got the jab. So if there was some kind of heinous thing going on, he was first in line for it, bud. So anyway. All right, there you go, bud.
Well, good to hear from you.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you again.
Later. Let's go to line 2. You're on there. Who's this?
Sponsored by Pfizer. How many commercials you think popped on during that piece with RFK?
Right.
That were pharmaceutical companies.
Right, and they are just memes at this point too. Like they're satires of themselves. Like a lot of these commercials, like with all their side effects, it's such a weird niche legal situation we're in, where it's like I don't know. I think the whole industry in a way needs to be overhauled.
There should be no prescription type drugs on on any type of commercials. I don't see how you can have a commercial for something that's not over the counter. That's always blown my mind. I mean, if we can't have liquor commercials or tobacco commercials, we sure shouldn't have pharmaceutical commercials either. And by the way, I would like to know if Dana's taken her seven booster shots since the initial COVID vaccine was introduced.
Right.
7 of them. I mean, it's repugnant. The corporate press has no credibility and deserves nothing.
And
from the American people.
Hats off to Rand Paul for getting all this stuff on Fauci and reminding the public, because it's bigger than just what happened. COVID, though, that's big enough. We're hitting exactly on, like, just watching that interview, that it's the lack of trust for a lot of our corporate, especially media institutions. And it's an earned lack of trust. Like, they have earned our distrust.
Yeah, I mean, you look back. I would dare to go back to the first 6 to 12 months of COVID and watch some of the press coverage and the way. I mean, you probably would, knowing what you know now, it would probably make you physically ill what they did to us.
No, and it worked on me for a time. Like, not as much as some people, but I wish I had been listening. There are actually a lot of libertarian folks that I listened to for years that I didn't listen to. I should have. They called this out from like day one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, was this to usher in a global government? Was it to usher in a vaccine into people's arms? Was it to usher in a totalitarian government? Was it, digital ID? All this stuff that they've been probably doing in communist China that we're just trying to bum rush ourselves into. And it's just sad to think this might be the case. I mean, ultimately, was it a virus created on accident that spread? Was it a virus created to stop Donald Trump? Was it a virus created to bring in a one world government and to run our world, to scare people so bad they'll be willing to do anything to be protected and safe? And then completely, like RFK said, ultimately, we got rid of our constitutional rights. We gave people away. I mean, we had it locally. We had Kay Ivey, telling us the unvaccinated were the problems. I mean, and the fact that woman got reelected after even saying that proves that people don't pay attention in this state. If you have an R by your name, you'll vote for him. She had no reason to be reelected after making those comments.
Well, and
hopefully,
you bring it back a memory, because Montgomery, remember, had a curfew, and I remember having Chief Finley, Ernie Finley at the time was chief of police, on, and I essentially asked him, well, but what if I'm going across town? My lady calls me at like 10:30 at night, and I'm trying to get some. And he's like, well, we ain't worried about that. Goodness gracious. I'm glad.
Well, if they're willing to lock down and do all that stuff, why don't they do that now?
Yeah.
I mean, we had this do right attitude, and we're gonna stop this virus from kids hanging out at the raceway parking lot, and they don't spread the old virus around. But where's that attitude?
And how long
now?
was COVID the excuse for rising crime numbers?
Oh yeah,
or crime numbers out coming down.
Yeah.
Was it the disease, or was it, maybe the violent riots?
That was like the communist beginning, the communist takeover, right? Mm-hmm. Not only do we get this virus shoved in our face, we had the George Floyd moment and all these horrible things. We still have BLM around our fountain here in Montgomery as an old relic of what it was, and it's just, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And, looking back at the 2020 to 2021, man, I think everybody was glazed over all the strange things that was happening, people getting money in their pockets and all that stuff. You look back at it, it's like, my God, what did we give up, folks? And it's hopefully people look it back as a big mistake.
Oh yeah, Yeah, no, and by the way, I just thought of I just saw a clip of a British roast comedy show where people battle roasting each other, and it was a white British dude and some big black British woman, and he said, "If Black Lives Matter, why won't you change your diet?" And she almost fell out the chair, and that applies to a lot of folks around here. Why won't you change your diet? Anyway,
Well,
might have helped with the COVID.
change
too.
diet. That's right.
Mhm.
Sure. Well, get your 7 booster shots, Dana, and the world will be a better place.
Well, I appreciate the call, Chris.
Yeah, take care.
Now, Trump's in the Oval live right now giving updates on talks with Iran. We'll see if it actually follows through, because he said the attack they were about to deliver to Iran was the biggest since World War II, which that's pretty big. There's some pretty big attacks in World War II. But looks like they're back to talking. Trump called it off at the request of some of the Gulf Arab allies who thought they had a breakthrough. And Trump now saying it'll take a little while. We were very strong on it. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'll never change. So he's just sticking to that line. Anyway, second hour coming up.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
SRN News. I'm John Scott. President Trump holding off on massive attacks on Iran at the urging of Gulf allies. He said a plan was in place for U.S. forces to carry out the biggest attack since World War II. Instead, he announced new talks to wind down the war in Iran. Those talks starting today. Europe grappling with a record-breaking hot and dry summer. The water-dropping planes on Monday tackled a major wildfire in Greece, while firefighters in France worked to stabilize a blaze in Provence. The UK recorded its driest July in nearly 2 centuries. In France, firefighters guarded against flare-ups near Bordeaux. Canada's second-largest airline, WestJet, has agreed to a tentative agreement with flight attendants to end a strike that led to hundreds of flight cancellations and thousands of stranded passengers. This is SRN News.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of year-long contracts and pointless restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule and at your convenience. With CHM, you're paying half the cost of a traditional health insurance plan. So that puts more money back into your budget for everyday needs. Plus, you'll have access to CHM's care solutions for virtual appointments, prescription savings, surgery support, and more. My family and I joined in 2018, and it's changed our lives for the better. We love paying way less while helping other believers afford their medical bills. Take the leap of faith and see why Christians across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. Pretty standard forecast for the early part of the month of August. Today, a good bit of sunshine with a high temperature in the lower 90s. Yes, there will be some random scattered showers and storms here and there, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours today and tomorrow, but really only a few towns will be affected. Many towns will stay dry. Low temperatures tonight and tomorrow night with mostly clear skies in the lower 70s. Not much day-to-day change this week, but I think temperatures will be edging back to the mid-90s by the middle of the week. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories. Montgomery Mayor Stephen Reed is inviting the UFL's Birmingham Stallions to move to Montgomery. The UFL announced Friday the Stallions would be blaming Birmingham's 47,000-seat stadium for being too large to create a good game day atmosphere. The average attendance in the league is around 21,000. Mayor Reed stated Montgomery has an opportunity to develop a right-sized stadium that can serve multiple purposes. As of October 1st, fluoride will no longer be added to the tri-community water system. Water system officials made the announcement August 1st with an assurance the change will not affect the safety or quality of drinking water. The Tri-Community Water System serves portions of the Millbrook area in Elmore and Autauga counties. The Montgomery Career Center is hosting a citywide career fair tomorrow. The event will be held at the Crampton Bowl Multiplex from 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. The career fair will feature a range of private sector employers and government agencies. The event is free and open to the public. Attendees are encouraged to bring multiple copies of their resume and dress professionally. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Welcome to Eclectic Coins, Montgomery's largest coin dealer, specializing in buying and selling investment-grade gold and silver coins. And they have a large selection of rare coins and coins from around the world. Visit them at 543 Northeastern Boulevard or on the web at eclecticcoins.com. Eclectic Coins, where collectors who know go.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
WAKA, Blue Water Broadcasting, Ty and Doll Incorporated, and Piggly Wiggly Food for Less invite you to help us stuff the truck on Saturday, August 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sturbridge Piggly Wiggly Food for Less. Donate non-perishable food, classroom supplies, or cash to help local students facing food insecurity and support our teachers. Visit WAKA.com for a shopping list and stop by our community resource fair for valuable services and information for River Region families. Together, we can stuff the truck and strengthen our community.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Listening to Joey Clark.
Welcome back. So before we forget about these miserable corporate press institutions, to put a bow on this, Victor Davis Hanson went off at one moment on his podcast. Let's listen in because he talks about when you stack them up next to one another, of the big lies pushed by big media. Well, let's listen in.
We don't have a watchdog media. It disappeared. We have NBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Chicago Tribune, LA Times, Boston Globe, NPR, PBS, ABC, CBS, NBC, Columbia School of Journalism, that whole conglomerate.
Yep.
They're there as adjuncts to the Democratic left-wing project. And so think about it. What did they give us? They gave us the Steele dossier is authentic. Donald Trump is a Russian spy. No, you lied and tried to fix an election through that lie. They gave us Hunter Back laptop. I know it looks incriminating, but it was cooked up in Moscow. It's a product of Russian information services. No, that was a lie. Jussie Smollett, that was a modern lynching. Can you believe that two white males went in with red mega caps and bleach and a rope at 2 a.m, defied the laws of chemistry, threw the bleach out, and it didn't freeze just because they were so evil? And then they attacked him. But Jussie, being a heroic fellow and diminutive, fought off two big, ugly, mean white guys while holding his sandwich and his cell phone and beat them up. But they did put a noose around his neck. And that's proof that it happened. Now, there's a little matter that he wrote checks to the black guys who wore whiteface, basically. But, things happen. So and then the Wuhan lab, every big lie that hurt the country, they've been behind for political purposes. That was behind the 2 impeachments, everything. January 6th. Remember what Kamala Harris said? Did you know, audience, what she said? She said that it was equivalent to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and she won the Olympics.
Pearl Harbor, she said, and 9/11.
Yeah.
Think about that. 3,000 people incinerated 9/11, 2,400 bombed to death at Pearl Harbor, and January 6th, where only one person died at the hand violently of another. Maybe two, but they were both Trump supporters, but it was a 114-pound diminutive 14-year veteran, and she was basically shot unarmed for the crime of a misdemeanor going through a broken window. And then Officer Byrd was canonized as a victim who had a disreputable record of misbehavior himself.
So, you just start to add it up. And, people go through these litanies, but I don't know why there's still a large audience that trusts them, but they do. It's probably the same folks who are excited about Rosie O'Donnell coming back to The View. I'm saying there's a big overlap. 272-9228. No, another thing that went viral over the weekend was this Oxford Union debate. And apparently the Oxford Union hasn't even released the full thing. So people are putting out some of their own videos, which is against the rules to film themselves, but they do. They're going to be censored, and their portions are not actually going to be put out. And, Oxford Union's this classic debate society existed for a very, very long time, for generations upon generation. And the premise, or the proposition in front of them, was the West should be suspicious of Islam. And in fact, on one of the portions of this debate they did not put out was in fact a young Muslim man, British Muslim man himself, who said, yeah, we should be. And of course, there are many Muslims on the side of, no, we shouldn't. Don't be suspicious of Islam. And by the way, the people that blow things up and the people that chop heads off and the people that are in ISIS and all these other, they're not really Islamic. They're not real Muslims, which is an interesting game to play. Well, before we play part of that debate, I want to play, it's an old clip. From 2019, I believe. And this is one of the, say, crown princes there in all these Gulf Arab states have become great partners, even alongside Israel, in the fight against Iran. But let's listen in. And this is the one where he even says, let me say this in English, because I don't want you to get the translation wrong. Let's listen in.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
I believe that guy is a foreign minister, or was a foreign minister of one of the main Gulf Arab countries, forgetting his exact name and stuff. Sorry, I don't speak Arabic. But that's always stuck in my mind that, like, you have a lot of these folks that run these monarchies in the Middle East. They're like, the way y'all in the West talk about and treat Islam is this, it's just harmless. Harmless. Well, you're ignorant. And as he said, you're going to get more radicals coming out of, say, British universities than out of Baghdad. So here's the first clip. It's a short one, and this is one of the people speaking in favor of Islam against the motion that the West should be suspicious of Islam. And she decides to essentially, in the name of free speech, issue a veiled threat to the people on the other side, essentially blowing herself up intellectually in the process. But, I mean, let's just listen.
Perhaps tonight's motion is less about the West's relationship with Islam and more about yours. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, known to his hooligans as Tommy Robinson. Stephen, there is a crowd outside rioting against you tonight, and without the protection and generosity of a Muslim Palestinian president and a mostly South Asian executive committee, you would be quite literally cooked.
Yeah, how's that not a threat? Well, if it wasn't for us extending this to you, you would just be cooked. How about condemning the mob? Instead of using them as shock troops to shut down an opponent in what is supposed to be an intellectual debate. Yeah, a lot of folks. The paradox of tolerance. First, you must allow an intolerant ideology into your tolerant society. Next, you must be grateful the ideology did not kill you for not tolerating it. Now your society is dominated by the intolerant. Don't worry, they'll still protect those same rights. They pretend to share your values when they're weaker than you. And then when they're stronger than you, well, they say, well, they're your values, not ours. There's a lot of that. But there's this one particular dramatic moment, and it's a multi-hour long debate. Obviously not going to play the whole thing. But there's this one moment that I believe it's Lawrence Fox, excuse me. Lawrence Fox is the speaker saying, yeah, the West should be suspicious of Islam. He is on that side of the debate. And this moment is, well, pretty incredible. He, you're not supposed to show or like draw pictures or renderings of the Prophet Muhammad, even though he's not really a prophet and he's not holy at all. That's, meaning set apart, like actually inspired by God. But let's listen in. This is Lawrence Fox.
Neville Chamberlain flew to Germany to appease Adolf Hitler. He said, European peace is what I'm aiming at, and I hope this journey may open the way to get it. And here we are, 87 years later, and European peace and peace in the West is being threatened again. Upon his return from Germany with his piece of paper, Chamberlain said, we are resolved that the method of consultation shall be the method adopted to deal with any other questions that may concern our two countries. And 338 days later, Britain was at war with Germany. So this morning I was thinking about this debate and the worthiness of consultation, which Chamberlain invoked, and the motion this House believes the West is right to be suspicious of Islam. And then I started thinking about a cartoon that I have here in this envelope. It's a cartoon which I think it instills in me feelings much, much more worrying than suspicion.
By the way, you can hear the mob demonstrating, so-called, outside. But yeah, he's just held up a very big envelope, and apparently what's inside has made him, well, worse than suspicious of Islam.
But in the spirit of consultation, I'll just leave it here for the moment, if we're okay with that. So, first let us start with the word suspicion. There was a minority, going back to Chamberlain and that brilliant foreign policy, there was a minority who were gravely suspicious of fascism leading up to the Second World War and were very vocal in that suspicion, who thought that Chamberlain's appeasement policy was just wrong. That far from being the peace in our time he promised, our appeasement would only serve to embolden Hitler. One of those who faced the most criticism for his prescience, suspicious prescience perhaps, was Winston Churchill. He saw fascism for what it was, an existential threat to the West. No one needs a history lesson from me. But it is possibly worth noting now, especially here, and thanks to our lovely friends outside, that it is perfectly acceptable and actively encouraged in every school, university, TV channel and media organisation across the West to be suspicious of fascism. In fact, if we listen to our friends outside, that's not enough. You've got to be an anti-fascist. You've got to take direct action against fascism. Chamberlain today just seems like a moronic simpleton to me. So perhaps the deaths of millions of people could have been avoided if only Churchill's suspicion had been heeded, that his perspective acknowledged, but he stood alone whilst the train continued to hurtle towards us because we didn't want to upset anybody. It is an entirely natural and positive human instinct to be suspicious of many things. From teaching our children not to get in cars with strangers, to friends checking in on each other when one is going on a date with a new person for the first time, suspicion is healthy. It sparks in every single sinew of our being. It is the product of generational caution in pursuit of survival. It's central to our very fundamentalist of instincts. It isn't prejudice, it's prudence. Suspicion isn't hatred either. It's pattern recognition. And I would like to make it clear at this point, Arwa, I would like to thank you so much for inviting us to have this debate. And I know you've struggled so much with people trying to cancel you. And I know exactly what that feels like. So thank you so much. I think I would like to make it very clear that I am not here to express suspicions of individual Muslims at all. There are many Muslims, including within my own family, who I love deeply. And as a Christian, I'm commanded to love my neighbour and to pray for my enemy. It is my most strongly held belief on this planet that every single human life is sacred and all lives matter. But I am absolutely not, and I will not, be commanded to love or submit to ideas or ideologies. As was mentioned earlier, as Jesus said, render to Caesar what is Caesar. Within one directive, he created the separation between church and state, which in Islam does not exist, which literally, Islam literally means submission. So there is no church, there is no state, there is only Islam. My suspicion of Islam, therefore, is strongly, and I think reasonably, held. Islam is a comprehensive social, political and military doctrine which leaves no part of its followers' lives untouched. As Andrew Hussey, the British historian, says, Islam more closely resembles a ruthlessly efficient war machine than a religion. Islam is borderless, expansionary and interested only in submission to Allah. And then for us, for some of us, unfortunate non-believers, we're given three choices.
Point of information. When was the last time there was a jihad declared against a foreign government and the expansion of Muslim lands into non-Muslim lands? When was the last time?
What's that got to do with what I'm talking about?
Well, you said that it's a military war machine. It's been around for quite a long time.
A point of order has been raised.
When you're giving points of information, you need to be very audible so the microphone...
I thank the ex-president for his... I'm not sure that's a point of order.
I'm also, as people may or may not have noticed, I'm not an Islamic scholar and I'm not into giving you a history lesson about the Quran. But I will give you a history lesson into the bits of the Quran that I understand and the bits of Islam I understand through those that I love and from my readings. So Islam gives you three options as far as I can tell as a Westerner. Submit. Pay the jizya, the tax, which institutionalizes inferior status for non-Muslims in Islamic states. Or, excuse me, 3, war with Muslims. Right. Notably, within those three options that Islam offers you, there is not one option which says, let's live in peaceful coexistence as equals in a pluralistic society. Not once. Not once does it say that.
They don't like that.
I'm certain you are aware that there is an entire chapter in the Quran, a chapter called O Disbelievers. The final line of that verse in the Quran is, to you is your faith and to me is mine. Are you aware of that chapter in the Quran, and are you aware of the teachings of tolerance the Quran and the Hadith and the Sunnah have taught us for centuries?
Allah, thank you. I'm just going to explain to you. One of the reasons why I didn't want to start quoting Quran verses was because I didn't want to come here and start talking about, it says here that you chop people's heads off, it says here that you do that, and it says here that you do that. I'm sure that there are very, very, very many verses in the Quran that talk about peace and love and happiness. It's just all we get is the bombs, the running over, the knives and the beheadings. So I'll move on if that's all right. Thank you very much.
Keep in mind, by the way, that he has that envelope with that picture, that artwork in it. So they're continuing to push back. But hear him out.
I'm done. Move on. Thank you very much. So I've said, notably, peaceful coexistence with non-Muslims is not an opportunity offered. A position which can reasonably be held to say that it creates not just suspicion, but tension within a Western, secular, liberal, Christian goldfish bowl that Tom Holland tells us we all live in, right? That's where we live. We do. No one knows anything anymore. Everyone's feelings matter. So one thing is certain and is backed up by all the data. Muslims living in the West are pretty suspicious of us. So I'm not going to talk about why the West should be suspicious of Islam. Let's talk about how suspicious Islam is of the West. The Policy Exchange report, titled Unsettled Belonging, published in 2016, which claims to be the most extensive research of British Muslims ever conducted, revealed that, let's do it, 43% of British Muslims supported the introduction of Sharia, not British law, Islamic law. 53% prefer to send their children to school with strong Muslim values, suspicious perhaps of Western ones. Maybe, I don't know. 44% of schools should be able to insist on face coverings. Does this sound like a community which seeks integration? Do we have a right to be suspicious of those who reject our values and the societal norms of their host country? 24% sympathise with violence organised by groups to protect their religion. That's what the Muslims say. And 31% thought that it was acceptable to keep more than one wife, illegal in Britain, but fine in Sharia, apparently, and 35% believe that the Jews have too much power in the UK, 52% compulsory halal. I could go on and on and on and on. But most important to me is the free speech of this. So, let's get this out, shall we?
Grabbing the envelope.
78% of British Muslims believe that no publication should publish pictures of Muhammad. An overwhelming majority. That rises to 87%. That's 9 out of every 10 Muslims that are walking the streets today in a country which absolutely abandoned blasphemy laws. Suspicion is not strong enough a word. The West should resist Islam in the strongest terms on free speech grounds alone. So here we are with this cartoon, right? And it's time to show that I will not submit. I will not adhere to the religious laws of far-off places. Now, my wife...
He's starting to open up the envelope.
...asked me not to show this for fear of repercussions in my family, but I told her that if I did not, then I had already submitted to Islam. So here we are.
Is it not enough that half the team that invited you to this debate were Muslim women who wanted to hear out your expression and your argument?
This is the other side standing up. Matt, he's about to pull out a picture of the Prophet Muhammad.
Is it not enough that I, as a Muslim president, have invited you to this chamber to give your arguments? Is that not enough justification and evidence for you to believe that we do believe in free speech? I would not become the president of a free speech society if not for it.
Thank you, Al. Oh, well, may I, thank you very much. May I finish, excuse me.
A point of order having been raised, I'll hear the ex-librarian.
It's a long time since I've been in this chamber and knew the rules off by heart. But in the House of Commons, and we model ourselves on the House of Commons, props are not allowed. Props. I wonder whether the rule on props is
are
the
not
same
allowed.
in the Oxford Union.
It's
I thank the honourable gentleman.
Picture of Muhammad. It's not even really a prophet. What are they so mad about?
For his point of order.
Excuse me, for one second.
One moment.
In the absence...
Mr. Fox, one moment, Mr. Fox. The ex-president is also raising a point of order, I think.
Just so it's helpful to inform the ex-librarian and others, at least my 4 years involved with society, that ban was not extended and didn't seem to apply to Israel and Palestine flag.
Thank you. So, right. I just want to wrap this up.
I am going to rule on the point of order. There is no bar in the forms of the House against the use of props. However, I would encourage Mr. Fox to make the point and move on.
I was until points of order. So it is in that spirit that I will not submit that I show you this as an Englishman who believes in free speech.
It's not a picture of that.
I will not submit. I will not bow down. Right. So, I think which rather proves the point I was trying to make, that in this envelope lived your fear, and your fear of Islam and what Islam will do to you that when you upset its very oversensitive sky wizard. And what lived in this room is a healthy and brilliant and noble British tradition of suspicion of Islam. I encourage you to pass the motion. Thank you very much.
Fascinating. So, it wasn't even in there. The picture wasn't even in there, and yet all that hell was raised at just the thought of him actually doing that. Fascinating moment, and there are a lot more moments from that debate. But, you know, for all the worry about, especially in the UK, how many folks they've let in, what I always come back to, despite the political questions, and I find the characterization of a lot of the ways Muslims have operated throughout history, like, yeah, military machine's a good way to put it. In fact, found another clip today that was making the rounds. This is real quick, and it's time people stop citing this as like just a slam dunk against Christianity. Actually, this is why the Crusades happened, guys. This is why.
I think it's time to understand that the Crusades in principle were a good thing. Islamic armies, starting with their prophet Muhammad, had already conquered and subjugated 2/3 of the Christian world, including the Holy Land, Egypt, North Africa, and Spain, and was now poised to overwhelm the Byzantine Empire and the rest of Europe. So Christian nations, seeing these expansionist intentions of the Muslim world, recognized that this wasn't going to stop. First Crusade was a defensive war. Muslim Turks and Ottomans continued to attack Europe all the way up until the 20th century, and it's notable and not well known that during that time, over 1 million Europeans were abducted and taken back to North Africa and to the Ottoman Empire as slaves.
And then, of course, you can go to, like, you know, the United States' first experience, big experience with Islam, with the Barbary pirates. And in the United States in particular, saying, look, we had no quarrels with you. We're neutral in this regard. We'll even say we're a secular nation, that we're not in our governing documents a Christian nation in order to satisfy you. Like, we've never had any fights. Why are you continue to enslave and capture our people? Because our belief gives us the right to do so. You're infidels. So what I come back to, as all these political debates no doubt will continue to swirl, is Islam's just not true. It's false. And I suppose as a Catholic, I would say the main central issue is Jesus Christ. Everything hinges on Jesus, not just in the matter of a debate, but literally everything. Islam and Christianity, though, are not simply two different paths to the same mountain. They make mutually exclusive claims, truth claims, about the most important person in human history and all the history of creation. Of course, Jesus, true believing Christians, is the eternal Son of God. God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made. The second person of the Holy Trinity, who died on the cross for our sins and rose from the dead. In Islam, Jesus is a character, but Jesus is considered in Islam merely a prophet. He did not die on the cross, did not rise from the dead, and is not divine. According to Islamic tradition, the original gospel given to Christians was later distorted and falsified, with Jesus misleadingly portrayed as a savior and son of God. In reality, says Islam, Jesus is a Muslim prophet who foretold the coming of Muhammad. This is a direct falsification of history and revelation. The manuscripts of the New Testament, thousands of them, predating Islam by centuries, consistently affirm the divinity of Christ, his death, and his resurrection. Islam's claim that the Gospels were corrupted is not only unfounded historically, it is internally incoherent. And by the way, you have examples outside of the New Testament documents and Christian writings that document Jesus being crucified. So, but this part about internally incoherent, it brings us to the Islamic dilemma. Simple argument called the Islamic dilemma. Doesn't prove Christianity is true, but it does prove Islam is false. So the Quran itself commands Muslims to accept the Torah and the Gospels as authoritative revelation. Yet the Quran contradicts those very books on multiple major theological and historical points. The death of Jesus, the Trinity, the nature of salvation, and a lot more. The Quran says to obey the Gospel and the Torah, but also contradicts both of these books on several major theological and historical points. So this is a genuine logical trap with no exit. Either the Bible is trustworthy because the Quran says the Bible's trustworthy. So either the Bible is trustworthy, Islam's contradictions of it prove Muhammad was a false prophet, or the Bible was corrupted and the Quran cannot command obedience to a corrupted text. And there's no coherent third option. The Islamic dilemma is not a cheap rhetorical trick. It is a structural collapse of Islam's own internal logic. And furthermore, especially as a Catholic, Muhammad lacks the credentials of a true prophet. Genuine prophets are authenticated by miracles, moral integrity, consistency with prior revelation, and fulfillment of prophecy. Muhammad fails on multiple counts. No verified miracles. The one miracle offered, the splitting of the moon, has really no good evidence for it. Compare this with Jesus, whose miracles were witnessed by thousands, recorded by enemies and friends alike, and culminate in the most well-attested event in antiquity, the resurrection. Of course, contradiction of prior revelation. Every authentic Old Testament prophet built upon and was consistent with what came before. Again, the everlasting hills, they all yearn for Christ. In fact, the daily mass reading today, I believe it was Hananiah, pretending to be a prophet in front of the priest. This is at the time of Jeremiah. And eventually the Lord comes to Jeremiah and says, Hananiah essentially predicted that the yoke of the Babylonians and King Nebuchadnezzar will be broken. And all these nations, including Israel and Judah, will be set free. And, well, the Lord comes to Jeremiah and says, no, that's wrong. And for him pretending he knows what he's talking about, he'll be dead within a year, and he dies within 7 months. So even in the supposed text that Islam says are you must believe, like the Bible, the Old Testament and New, there's all sorts of ways that say, here's examples of false prophets. So every prophet is consistent. Muhammad flatly contradicts, and maybe you could say, well, there's little things here or there where maybe Isaiah and Jeremiah, if you really split hairs, you could find some seeming contradiction on the surface, though you can't. But it's not even just like these seeming things or rhetorical things. Muhammad flatly contradicts Moses, the Psalms, Isaiah, and the Gospels. The true prophet from the God of Abraham does not contradict Abraham's God. And there's no prophecy fulfilled. Jesus fulfilled over 300 messianic prophecies recorded in the Old Testament. Muhammad fulfilled none. Islam's most fundamental theological claim is Tawheed, the absolute oneness of God. On the surface, this sounds compatible with monotheism, but Islam explicitly rejects the Trinity, calling it a form of polytheism. The problem is the Trinity is not three gods, it's one God in three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This is not a later invention. It is revealed in Scripture. Genesis 1:26 says, let us make man in our image. Matthew 28:19 says, baptism in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Islam's rejection of the Trinity is based on a misunderstanding. It often characterizes the Trinity as the Father, Mary, and Jesus. So they can't even get the formulation of the Trinity right, which is not the Christian belief at all. This suggests Muhammad had exposure to a distorted version of Christianity, not the real thing. And let's just go to the cross itself, central, literally central to, I think, creation itself and central to Christianity. The Quran denies that Jesus was crucified, claiming it only appeared that way. This is not a minor quibble. The crucifixion of Jesus is attested to by Roman historians, Tacitus and Josephus, confirmed by every strand of early Christianity, affirmed even by most secular scholars of antiquity. If the crucifixion didn't happen, there's no atonement. And if there's no atonement, there's no salvation. Islam replaces the sacrificial love of God with a mere system of moral accounting. Do enough good deeds, and perhaps Allah will show mercy. This is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who is literally love. And the Quran just can't compete with Scripture. The Bible is a product of 40-plus human authors over 1,500 years, has stunning internal unity, fulfilled prophecies, historical confirmation through archaeology, a coherent theological narrative from creation to redemption. The Quran was reportedly dictated by one man over approximately 23 years with no fulfilled prophecies, no unified theological tradition behind it, and a text that openly contradicts older revelation. Catholics, Christians in general, need to know the faith well so they can show their Muslim brothers that Christianity is the true fulfillment of Abraham's prophetic line, and do so using scripture, history, and common sense to charitably refute Islam's major beliefs. And of course, there can be common ground. You could be like, well, you're kind of right about this or that or the other. You just don't have the fullness of the truth, and you have a lot of stuff that is outright contradictory. So let's take the stuff that, maybe you've kind of got right and run with it. So the bottom line is Islam's not simply an incomplete religion. It's a contradictory one. It denies the incarnation, the cross, the resurrection, the Trinity, and the divine authority of the very scriptures it claims to honor. It arrived 600 years after Christ, contradicted everything he said and did, offered no miracles to verify its claims, and asked the world to take Muhammad's words for it. Take his word for it. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That claim is either true or false. Islam says it's false. The evidence says Islam is wrong. That's where I end up landing. Because the political arguments, like if you're in Britain, especially with major Muslim populations and the effects of how they're incompatible values at bottom, in particular between Christianity and the secular culture that was built essentially by the Christian world and what Islam's all about. Yeah, I think there is a tension there, and there's suspicion and fear and all sorts of stuff going both ways of this dynamic. And it's, well, pray to God it doesn't get too nasty. But I really always just come back to, it just ain't true. And though I will have respect for individuals and pray for those individuals, I'm not going to have respect for untrue things that are not only just mistaken, but outright contradict the very core, the very heart of hearts of not just my belief, but of the belief that has shaped our civilization. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
You want your floors to scream new, fresh, and stylish. But if yours are groaning, tired, old, and outdated, you're in luck. Because at Prattville Carpet, you can revitalize your floors while you save on the best brands available with perfect and professional installation and Prattville's unbeatable lifetime warranty.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Start shopping for your floors right now at PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
This is your roving reporter, and today I'm talking with a political activist. That's right, man. And could you please explain to us your red cap with the letters MMRGA? Yeah, man, this is my MARGA hat. MARGA? Yeah, man, that stands for Make My Retirement Great Again. I see. And to do that, what you need to do is call David Ernest, the asset preservationist. That's right, man. You can call David at 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-SAFE. And I understand that's a toll-free number. Yeah, man. Get David Ernest on the case, and your retirement will be great again. And you make these hats? I do. Here's a whole pile left from the last administration. And they say CPWABD. Yeah, man. Corn Pop was a bad dude. And as you said, there's a whole pile here. Well, there wasn't much demand. I can dig it.
What are you getting? Still deciding, but I do know on August 11th, I'm choosing Rep Marcus for Congress. Why a Rep Marcus? Because he's a true conservative, endorsed by President Trump and Senator Katie Britt.
Oh, then you can trust him.
And he's a small business owner, not a politician.
Sounds like this choice on August 11th is the easiest decision we'll ever make.
Remember to vote on August 11th. I'm Rat Marcus, the Trump-endorsed candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rat for Alabama.
Rich Thomas weather is brought to you by Victoryland.
Giveaways galore all summer long. Diamond Days Diamond Jewelry Giveaway and TV Tuesdays TV Giveaway with $185,000 in free play at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. Pretty standard forecast for the early part of the month of August. Today, a good bit of sunshine with a high temperature in the lower 90s. Yes, there will be some random scattered showers and storms here and there, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours today and tomorrow, but really only a few towns will be affected. Many towns will stay dry. Low temperatures tonight and tomorrow night with mostly clear skies in the lower 70s. Not much day-to-day change this week, but I think temperatures will be edging back to the mid-90s by the middle of the week. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
When the heat hits to the river region, don't wait. If your AC quits, Hands Heating and Air offers same-day service, or your diagnostic charge is free with their Comfort a Day or You Don't Pay guarantee, plus 24/7 service with no overtime charges.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values. This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. So on a Sunday appearance on MS Now's Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, Doug Jones criticized Tommy Tuberville for what he called dog whistle politics. So I have a few questions for Doug before we fully get into this. Is it all just going to be boomer, like liberal boomer slop? Are we still going to pretend like it's the 60s? Or are we still going to pretend like it's the 90s and Forrest Gump just came out? Is this what we're going to get? When's the last time you've been to the weight room? Get to the weight room. And also, Doug Jones, his campaign sign just says, Doug. Just Doug. Like he's Bono or something. So my question for Doug is, will Patty Mayonnaise be the true power behind the governor's chair if you win, Doug? So I don't know if I like that. We've had enough question about who's actually in charge of running the governor's office right now. I want somebody that's actually in charge. But Doug Jones talks about he's excited for the energy he's seeing across Alabama in the town halls and how Tuberville's hiding and he can't stay hiding or hidden or whatever. And the coach seems pretty out and about. So the energy that we're really seeing is remarkable, says Doug Jones, quoting him, and I think people are seeing all the just horrific things he says about Muslims. Well, I have a question for Doug Jones. Is Islam true? Would you be willing to say it's not true, Doug? Are the claims, the theological claims, true or not? Would you affirm them? But he goes on to say what Tuberville has said about black Americans, or excuse me, black Alabamians in particular. What has he said? What has he said in particular? Talking about like comments about crime, or most of the victims of that crime are black Alabamians. But he goes on to say, this is dog whistle politics. Quoting Doug, we've known that kind of racial division politics for a long, long time in Alabama, and I think people are tired of it. No, I think people are tired of the George Wallace thing, man. Doug, you did your best work decades ago. And I'm not one to say you did bad work. You did good. You did good, Doug. You did good. But this ain't going to cut it. This ain't going to move the needle. Anyway, that's in particular, I would like people to ask Doug Jones directly, do you think Islam's true? And are you willing to say that publicly, that it's not true, that it outright contradicts the reality of who is Jesus Christ? Now, that doesn't mean, like, you know, I'm not in the camp of throw everybody out of the country disagrees. But if we're going to talk about this, how about it not be in this way? Well, everybody kind of has their truth. No, the truth is the truth. And if we're going to live in a free society, why don't you feel not only the responsibility to make sure other people's freedom isn't restricted, how about you use your freedom to actually say something? So somebody please, the next town hall, ask Doug Jones if he thinks it's true. If Islam is true. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. And the top trending story there at 1819news.com is Stephen Reed. You know, it's about time Montgomery gets a new mayor. Now, we won't have a chance to even have that happen until next year, and that's if somebody steps up. Like, I ain't running for mayor. I got better things to do. Like, I guess if I really cared, I would run for mayor. But do you really want me as mayor? Like, I don't think I have the temperament. I'm too melancholic. And too skeptical. I'm not really a leader of men in the way that great leaders are. Now, I don't know if the current mayor is really a leader of men either, but I know I'm not the guy to replace him. So if we're going to get a new mayor, we're going to need somebody that actually can lead. Men, and yes, women, lead the culture, so to speak. But Stephen Reed popped up in the news, and he said, upon the news that the Birmingham Stallions are departing from Birmingham, so they'll just be the Stallions somewhere. Mayor Reed is using the Birmingham Stallions' recent departure from Birmingham to push for his plan to borrow $375 million for a sports complex and other city projects. But, by the way, the sports complex would not be the lion's share of the $375 million. Of course, that $200 million's projected for the convention center, but there aren't very detailed plans on exactly what it's going to be. So perhaps add more money to that number on what it will actually cost. But Mayor Reed is using the recent United Football League announcement from the Birmingham Stallions as Well, because they left because they didn't have the right size venue. The comments from UFL leadership reinforce something cities across the country continue to recognize. Professional sports thrive when they have facilities that match their scale and create the right atmosphere for fans, Reed said. As UFL co-owner Mike Rapoli noted, the league's decision was driven by the need for a right-sized venue, and he expressed a desire to return if one becomes available. Montgomery has long believed there is an opportunity to develop the right-sized stadium that can serve multiple purposes, from football and soccer to community events and entertainment, while supporting economic growth, tourism, and quality of life throughout the capital city. I mean, as an idea, it's not a bad idea. But you want to do that and a convention center and a bunch of other stuff. And was this the initial reason for wanting a new amphitheater and sports complex, or is it just grab what's ever out there? And we'll figure it out later. Of course, the city of Birmingham, Jefferson County, and the Birmingham Convention and Visitors Bureau spent millions of dollars to bring the Stallions to Birmingham in 2022. And despite the investment, UFL leadership claimed that even when 16,000 fans appeared in the stands, the energy, passion, and game atmosphere was not felt due to the size of the venue. Mayor Reed said, "We look forward to engaging with league officials and other partners to explore whether Montgomery can play a role in the future of professional spring football in Alabama. Our doors open, and we stand ready to work with the league, community partners, and stakeholders to help keep the Stallions in Alabama while creating a lasting asset that benefits Montgomery and the entire region for generations to come." So take out a huge debt for kind of a hope and a prayer, and this isn't even the main part of it. So you want to just do this? Maybe. But yeah, Birmingham spends millions, and well, the problem is the venue size. It would be a real shame if Montgomery spent a bunch of money, say millions, made a smaller venue than the one Birmingham had, and then the venue size still doesn't work. Because that's possible. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm not saying it's inevitable. I'm saying it's possible. Anyway, he's really trying to get this $375 million bond over the finish line. But unfortunately, the last vote he had didn't live in the district she claimed to represent. But of course, people are very, very mad that folks called her out for that. And that the council was kind of forced to say, yeah, you can't be on the council anymore. It's really against a lot of good laws. Anyway, 272-9228. This entire part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you with buying a home or refinancing that current home of yours. And, you know, if you've got equity built up, it's your money. You can use it to reinvest in a property, fix something up, do some renovations, or maybe you want to get credit card debt off your back, shore up a retirement fund, or go on that dream vacation you've always desired. Well, they can help you out there at Alabama Home Mortgage. Do just that. And of course, if you're looking to buy because it's the right time for you, don't think about the national economy and stuff. Think about yourself. Think about your own economy, so to speak. Maybe the family's growing. You need a bigger place. Maybe you're an empty nester and you've got too much house, especially if you're getting older. Well, they can help you out there at Alabama Home Mortgage. If you need a new place, need to buy a new place, and they can walk you through the entire process from pre-approval. That's always the first step. Do not skip that step, from pre-approval all the way to closing day. So check them out today. That's Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223, 567-4223, or you can always apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
From the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Up and down oil prices are down again, dropping after President Trump canceled plans for a large-scale attack on Iran. The president said Gulf allies pleaded with him to hold off. He says the fresh talks with Iran are scheduled for today. However, Iran's rhetoric remains defiant as Tehran continues to insist on controlling the Strait of Hormuz.
A federal judge has ruled the Department of Homeland Security can proceed with building a border wall through a levee system in the small Texas town of Presidio. And the decision supports the Trump administration's efforts to construct a $46 billion wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Some relief to the heat on the way, according to the Weather Service's long-range forecast. A strong cold front expected to bring cooler temperatures to much of the eastern U.S. by next weekend, with much lower humidity. This is SRN News.
Are you tired of feeling lousy? Maybe you had a scare at your last checkup or just walking hurts? When enough is enough, call PhD Weight Loss. When I had enough 4 years and 53 pounds ago, I knew I couldn't do it alone. I'm Mike Gallagher for PhD Weight Loss. Best phone call I ever made. They were right with me. They still are today. Right now, mention Mike. You'll get 2 free weeks added to the program, and they'll pay for the cost of your food. $1,500 value. Call 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900, or visit myphdweightloss.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule at half the price of traditional marketplace plans. See why believers across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
Folks, let's go right to the phones and talk to Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hi, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good for Monday. Pretty good. Tried to play guitar in there and did it badly earlier, but yeah, I think I made my point, though.
Well, the good news is at a radio station, maybe somebody could be on the other side of the wall doing a solo of something that you could be faking it.
That's
you
very
could be
possible.
Milli Vanilli in it.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they would have faked me messing up. That's how you knew it was authentic, folks. But how's it going there today, Cohen?
Man, it's going great. We had a great weekend. Had some good sales. Had some TVs that got sold. We're going to get those installed. Everything's doing pretty good over here. Had a nice lady that needed to get a washing machine, and she came in, and we were able to get that delivered today for her. So she'll be washing clothes tonight. So it's been a good Monday. It hasn't been the stereotypical Monday.
That's very good to hear. And so, folks,
Yes.
if you're looking for great TVs, great sound system options, grilling options, and yeah, as you just heard, the appliance side, if you need a new washer and dryer, it sucks not having one at home when you're used to it, especially. They got all that there and more at Cohen's. And folks can still go online to thinkcohens.com, but, it's better for them to actually go by the showroom to see stuff, right?
It's always better to come see it and touch it, and then you actually get to ask more questions, and we get to ask you questions, and we get to help you make the right choice. Because, there's a ton of washing machines, and, at a glance, they all look the same.
Right.
But yet they're very different.
And so that, if you want to stop by, folks, and you should, 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery, open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And find Michael and be like, hey, I heard you on that radio show with that young whippersnapper, Joey Clark.
That's right. That's right. Y'all come see us. Let us help you make the right choice, and have a great day.
No, appreciate you, Michael. Talk again soon.
Take care.
Let's go to a break. We'll come back with Simpler Days and TS after this.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. Pretty standard forecast for the early part of the month of August. Today, a good bit of sunshine with a high temperature in the lower 90s. Yes, there will be some random scattered showers and storms here and there, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours today and tomorrow. But really, only a few towns will be affected. Many towns will stay dry. Low temperatures tonight and tomorrow night with mostly clear skies in the lower 70s. Not much day-to-day change this week, but I think temperatures will be edging back to the mid-90s by the middle of the week. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
1819 News.
Democrat gubernatorial candidate Doug Jones was on MS Now over the weekend. Jones took a swipe at his opponent in the governor's race, U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, accusing Tuberville of using dog whistle politics in his campaign.
The energy that we're seeing is really remarkable, and I think people are seeing all of the just horrific things he says about Muslims, about black Alabamians, about others, the dog whistle politics he's used. We've known that kind of racial division politics for a long, long time in Alabama, and I think people are tired of it.
Jones did not mention any specific occasions where Tuberville has offered horrific statements against blacks or Muslims. However, Tuberville has gone on the Senate floor to advocate for legislation that bans Sharia law from being implemented here in the U.S. He's also encouraged Muslims who do not want to adhere to the U.S. Constitution to not live in the U.S. but return to their country of origin and its Islamic tenets. Tuberville has also referred to the teaching of Islam and Sharia law as a death cult. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Mark your calendar for November 6th. The Albert Patterson Gala returns to the Barber Motorsports Museum featuring United States Senator Tommy Tuberville. We've sold out 2 years running and tables are already filling for 2026. If you believe in a thriving Alabama built on truth, courage, and accountability, this is your night. Don't miss your chance. Visit 1819news.com/gala. That's 1819news.com/gala to get your table today.
In Bay Minette, a fire destroyed a family-owned restaurant along Highway 31. Everyone inside was able to escape the Streets Seafood restaurant. The fire started in the kitchen, and the whole facility was deemed a total loss. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers.
It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
You're listening to Joey Clark. Joey Clark. Joey Clark. Joey Clark. You're listening to Joey Clark.
I have a feeling those jingles are going to be used as a torture mechanism sometime in my future. Let's go to the phones and talk to Simpler Days. Hey, Simpler Days, how you doing?
Well, from one old fart to a young whippersnapper, I'm doing okay, Joey.
That's good to hear.
You were talking about our illustrious mayor wanting to venture off into some type of professional sports arena. The Chicago Bears, who've been in Chicago, the downtown area of Chicago, the metro area, have been there since 1920s. They're leaving. They're not only leaving the city, they're leaving the state of Illinois and going over to a more pleasant area. These blue cities just don't understand that. And it's like high school football. And Joey, you've been here. You're old enough to remember.
Yeah.
When high school football, Crampton Bowl used to have a full house.
Oh yeah.
It did. And I can remember the day. I'm a lot older than you are, and I can remember the day that when they'd sell tickets out in the summer. And the Jeff Davis and the Lee Lanier rivalries, the place would be, well, you go down there now, it's a ghost town on high school football games. So I just don't understand his mindset, because if you build it in these blue cities, they probably are not going to come.
I agree with you, and I think it's to distract from not wanting to do the fundamentals, because the fundamentals are tough.
Well, the fundamentals are also boring to politicians. They don't like to keep the garbage trucks rolling. They don't like to keep the police car. That's beneath them, and that's why they have layers of bureaucracy to shield them from that. But you were talking about Tuberville and talking about what Doug Jones said about his remarks about Muslims. And then you started off the show today talking about the Quran and all that. Do you remember one of the most significant criminal cases in the United States? And it had a direct connection to Montgomery, Alabama.
Or are these the snipers at the ABC store and stuff?
Bingo.
Yeah.
You hit it right on the head. John Muhammad, and who was a self-confessed Muslim, and John Lee Malveaux, who was a illegal immigrant who had been taken into custody. He came from, I think it was Haitian. He was a Haitian. Came from Haitian and came from Haiti, and he'd been taken into custody as in charge being an illegal immigrant with a federal crime, and he was released on bail, and they lost him.
Wow.
They lost. Nobody kept up with him, and he hooked up with Mohammed, the self-confessed Muslim, and they went about killing multiple people across the United States, including, in the way the case was actually, they identified the suspect in the case was that they dropped the magazine over there on Zelda Road. They dropped the magazine, and they were able to get a print off the magazine. They got a hit through the national database on him because he'd been in the Army. But these are these somewhat peaceful Muslims that we talk about.
Oh yeah, and it's also, I'm happy to entertain that, not every Christian's like a member of the Westboro Baptist Church, like, saying awful things to gay people at a funeral or something, or calling people worse names that I can't use here. So like there are obviously like weird little things within every group of people, but when you start seeing public opinion polls and like what people believe in en masse, and you see how, well, say law and order is upheld in Islamic nations, yeah, I think there's an incompatibility there with the West. Not to mention all the terrorism and stuff over the last 20, 30 years.
Did you happen to see the off-duty police officer and his girlfriend that were run over and killed in Connecticut?
No, I did not catch that one.
Yeah, it was an illegal, somewhat immigrant who was intoxicated. She ran over him and killed him. They wanted his motorcycle off. He was off duty. But
it's a shame.
I mean, it just goes on and on. If you can't say a word about, and you can't speak out and say, well, these people need to be monitored. There's a reason that we have border security. There's a reason that the Navy's in the Constitution to protect our borders. But if you speak out, you're a racist or you're, this or that. But I mean, how many? These two people that were killed by ICE agents. It's terrible. It's the end of the world. But these people that just want to live their lives and go about their business, their lives don't matter, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, you hadn't heard about it yet. And if it would have been a protester shot, killed by an ICE, you would have heard about it all weekend.
Yes.
24 hours a day. Have a good day, Joey.
Appreciate the simpler days. Let's go to TS. Hey, TS. I had
Hey, honey bunny.
Did you call me honey
I'm
bunny?
in here. I called you honey bunny.
Honey
Is
bunny.
that permissible?
Yeah, no, I was just making sure because I like it.
Honey bunny's nice.
Thank
you. Okay, that's not why I called. Simpler days. Thank you for reminding me. I'd forgotten all about those weirdos that did all the stuff in Montgomery and everywhere else. Thanks. Number one, I'm so glad, Joey, you explained these signs that say vote for Doug, because I've almost been running off the road to figure out what's going on in fine print underneath vote for Doug.
I was like, man, Doug from Nickelodeon's running for office now? All right, Tuberville's in trouble.
Yeah, vote for him.
Tuberville's in trouble.
Well, okay. I mean, I just didn't know until you informed me today. Okay. And then number two, if the mayor wants to fill a stadium up for the Stallions, they can fill up Crampton Bowl. Crampton Bowl has been refurbished and remodeled 3 or 4 times. I will go down there if they're there. I don't know why we have to need bigger and better and, let's just waste some more money in Montgomery. I'm not being ugly.
No, I think he's just trying to find all sorts of. This is not very detailed in terms of the presentation. It's a lot of hopes and dreams and aspirations, and so this is the latest thing to be like. See, we could do this. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe, man.
We could, but we could fill up Crampton Bowl for the Stallions. I'd go.
Well, we got to get that just right. It's too small, so we can't get as big as Birmingham, but we can't be as small as Crampton Bowl. We got to have that one that's just right, and we guarantee the just right amount of people will show up weekend after weekend.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's kind of like all of his other creations and ambitions. I love you more, honey bunny. That's all.
Thank you. Love you. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey,
Hey, Randall.
Hey, and they got the Garrett Coliseum. Is that not a good size? I mean, the city owns it now, so they put a little money in it, and it'd be perfect for a couple of different things.
Yeah, whatever happened to arena football?
They still have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a nice place for that season. But I want to go back to last hour when you was talking about about Muslims and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly about the Abraham Accords, but can you remind me of how the Christians and the Muslims and the one more,
the Jews,
one more, yeah, they all have one family house or had it, and
they all claim they come from the tradition of Abraham, the God of Abraham. Now, I think the Jews would very much disagree with the Christians that Jesus is the perfect fulfillment, and so the children of Abraham are those that believe in Christ. They would probably disagree with that Christ wasn't the Messiah, and then the Muslims will say Jesus didn't actually die on the cross and wasn't really God, and all this other stuff, and they contradict a lot of the Old Testament prophets themselves. So they all trace back to sort of this origin of Abraham. But they have a very different story to tell in terms of salvation history. But
Yeah,
because there is that commonality, at least at the very beginnings, the genesis, if you will, it does allow for reasonable people, and reasonable people exist everywhere, to actually say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't kill each other. We could, like, trade and stuff.
and on the Abraham Accord, Jared Kushner was on a lot about getting them countries together. He's still wanting to add another country, and the family house I was talking about, the Abraham family house, and I can't think of the name of it where it's at. It starts with a D, but it's not Dubai. They closed it down, and it was open just a couple of years ago when we was talking about this, or 3 years ago. But they shut it down, so I didn't know what was.
Well, it might be. I don't know what you're talking about, but I suspect any sort of goodwill for a while went out the window after what happened on October 7th, and then the Israeli response and the war in Gaza.
I got you.
A lot of people died.
Cancel.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Randall. 272-9228, 334-272-9228. How about this? Let's hit a break. And we'll come back, and I'm trying to decide where to go next. Do I really want to go there with James Tallarico? It's apparently doing all right in Texas, at least in early polling. It's a shame. But I'll decide during the break. We'll be right back after this.
He may not know whether he's coming or going. But whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. At PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Man, everything costs more these days. Yep. That's why we need people like Rhett Marcus. He cut $1.5 billion in taxes.
Wait, 1.5 billion? That's a big deal. Didn't President Trump and Senator Katie Britt endorse him?
Uh-huh, they sure did.
Sounds like Rhett's the right man for Alabama.
I'll be voting for him on August 11th.
Mm-hmm, me too.
I'm Rhett Marcus, the Trump-endorsed candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rhett for Alabama.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live local talk. The River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
You're listening to Joey Clark. Joey Clark. It's Joey Clark.
Welcome back. So I don't know if I want to do this. Because I just can't take it sometimes. But because it's bothering me, I think I have to. James Tallarico, he's running for Senate in Texas. Right now, some polls show him doing all right against Ken Paxton. I hope those polls are wrong. Not just for political reasons, but for the type of politics Tallarico is selling. And this is what's so fascinating. You will get certain folks on, especially more they call themselves moderates, or they're outright on the left, especially your corporate press types, your elite academics, and these sorts of things, where they're really, really worried about Christian nationalism. Like you in your car, sir, you in that pickup truck over there. Are you a Christian nationalist? Well, I'm a Christian. Well, are you a nationalist? Yeah, I mean, I like Trump and stuff, and it's like, well, then you might very well be a Christian nationalist, which means the church will run everything. Well, which church? What are you talking about? I'm a Christian and I'm a nationalist. Everything we talk about in terms of the law has to do with how you apply moral systems that undergird our every action, whether in regards to politics or how we behave with one another in terms of the people we love and our families and our friends and our businesses. So, like, I'm a Christian, and I would capitalize Christian, and then nationalism would be lowercase. But, you know, you could also be, I guess, a libertarian, or there are going to be people that say I'm a Christian socialist. I don't know why they said it that way, but they do. Or I'm a Christian this or that, or progressive. I'm a Christian, I'm a liberal Christian, or I'm a conservative Christian. And of course, these temperaments are real. God gave them to us. People are going to have different temperaments, different inclinations on how to solve a lot of complex problems. But essentially, they're trying to say that you're a bunch of theo-fascists and everybody should be scared of you because if we give you Christians that actually believe, you know, Jesus is God and true man, if we actually give you all power, you might say that's what's true, and you might govern believing that's actually true. And that might mean, like, well, we saw Roe v. Wade overturned, and that's such an unchristian thing, stopping the murder of children in the womb. Is it? Well, but it isn't Christian necessarily, but like the moral rights and dignity that the Christian tradition, in particular the church, affirms. You shouldn't, like, if you're, like, say, a Catholic, you shouldn't get an abortion, but I'm not going to legislate morality. So you've heard all this stuff. And there are folks, of course, in, you know, the Christian right and the moral majority, and we've had different movements in this country. And it used to be everybody was so Christian that you didn't need to explicitly even say it. Everybody just assumed it. The favorite books of the first 20 presidents were usually Shakespeare and the Bible. Like it was the waters we swam in, Christian waters, and we still swim in, though we try to deny it all the time. You see the latest America's Got Talent? When's the last time you read Leviticus, Bobby? Stop watching the person who taught the cats to jump through hoops and maybe pick up the good book, sir. I like watching cats jump through hoops. Well, maybe you can do that after you study the Bible a little bit, Bobby. Anyway, what's fun is there's different responses from the left of the so-called Christian nationalist thing. And I think there are some explanations of Christian nationalism that make a lot of sense that really do have to do with the founding generation, but also the larger civilization. that we exist in. It doesn't mean theocracy. You might get somebody as hardcore as, say, like a Doug Wilson, but you listen to Doug Wilson, he's, it's not fire and brimstone. He just really believes what he believes and he'll say it. So his ideal would be like a Protestant, like Reformed Baptist, Protestant, Calvinist, people that are in government would have those beliefs and our laws would reflect those beliefs. And, in the public square, you might not be able to do that Eucharistic procession, you Catholics, that Marian procession, that might not be allowed. And I'd be like, I'm get the monstrance out now. We're pushing back against you, Doug. But you actually listen to folks, you realize, most of this is people realizing that the founding and the roots of our civilization itself are Christian. That should be affirmed. And we should start to rebuild a lot of the institutions based on that, call from the Lord himself. And that includes healthcare. That very much includes healthcare. And now, if you could always say, compared to what? You could always speak in relative terms. How's our treating of the sick in our society? Well, compared to what? The perfect? Like everybody always gets the chance to be healed. No cost is spared. The world is full of costs and trade-offs. Everybody gets to see the doctor, but then they get on a big wait list. Everybody gets to try that new experimental treatment that doesn't work. Like, what are you talking about? When we talk about healthcare, that's so many different things. Sometimes healthcare is literally a family member sitting with another elderly family member and helping them take care of themselves. Sometimes it's advanced surgery that was just invented in the last decade. Sometimes it is a brand new experimental drug. Or sometimes it's just basic medicine. Like you need to do this basic thing, this basic thing, this basic thing to help your metabolism because you're fat and you're getting diabetes and you're going to have heart problems. And actually, that's the number one problem with our society. We have too much food and it's way too easy to relax. And it creates a lot of problems or costs to all these things. It's almost like sloth and gluttony or sins. But you could say we're doing better than maybe ever before in human history in taking care of the sick. But you could say we could do better. Like there's always room to do better. And in fact, when you look at how expensive healthcare is and the way the system currently works, I think it's worth considering how we change things. Certainly. And looking at it clear-eyed, not just ideologically, looking at it like we don't have a market system. We just don't, even though you do have private insurance. And we don't have a full single-payer system, though Medicare makes up most of the payments into your medical institutions. Like Medicare is paying for a lot of it, so is Medicaid. So the government's got a pretty heavy hand in medicine as well at this point. So I essentially admit we've got this weird hybrid system. And right now, what are the problems of the hybrid system? And I would say one, at least from my more market-oriented point of view, is we have too much control on the supply side. Way too much control on the supply side. That drives up cost, that limits access. And there's this emphasis on the big surgery centers, which are amazing, like at UAB, and not enough emphasis on the folks that, were trained in the military to help somebody out and get them fixed up real quick for the cheap. Now, do you always want to go to the cheapest option? No, but again, you got to live in the real world. Not everybody's going to have a bunch of money. And when you start to pour in a bunch of money and have government sorting of it, you end up with either wait time shortages or you end up making everything more expensive unless you got to pour even more money into it. It's kind of the system we have. Why has healthcare outpaced inflation? Healthcare and inflation, it's almost like the two areas where the government spends a lot of money to make it accessible. It continues to up the price of it year after year after year. So we got to spend more, and thus the endless cycle. But back to the basic point is healthcare is one of those institutions. Medicine, caring for the sick, is one of the main calls and examples of Jesus Christ himself. So when you think about the left's response to the very Christian folks out there, like Christian nationalism, are you a Christian nationalist, sir? No, I'm just trying to watch America's Got Talent. They're watching the cats are jumping through hoops. But the left also has another response, where it's actually like, you're not the real Christian. Like, we're the real Christians because Jesus, like, loved everybody, and you should love. And, you know, and when the power of love overcomes everything, people will just be full of love, and we'll be tolerant and we'll love one another. Like, Jesus just loved everybody. And, like, who are you to, like, judge anything? I say, judge everybody. So the response ends up being, well, actually, we're more Christian than you, and our politics are more Christian than you. Because the Bible says, well, take care of the sick, so that means, and Jesus did a lot of healing, so that means public option. We got to have the public option. Because Jesus healed the lepers, gave sight to the blind. Means we need more Obamacare. Mm-hmm. And you see that not just on this issue, but a lot of issues. And so I didn't want to do it. Here's James Tallarico. And Tallarico says the Bible demands government-run health insurance. And so, like, take it away, James. Apparently you studied theology or something. I think it's heretical theology. And it seems like you took, like, the skin of Christianity and you're wearing it, like Hannibal Lecter. But maybe that's uncharitable of me. Let's hear the man out.
We can finish the work of President Obama and pass a public option so that every single American has access to the health care they deserve. Because health care is a human right.
Yeah, it would just drive up costs a lot. Healthcare is a human right. You hear that a lot.
It is not a privilege. I just, since we are in church, and because I said BS earlier, if you read...
You mean you're in a BS church?
Our scriptures, if you read the New Testament, what does Jesus spend most of his time doing? It's not, well, you already know. Okay. It's not.
It says the kingdom of God is at hand quite a bit. And the kingdom of God is this or that. The kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of God is like finding treasure in a field. Anyway, but what does he do, James?
Preaching, it's not teaching. It is healing. Healing the sick.
Yes.
And in Matthew 25, Scripture says that's how we will be judged and how we will be saved. By healing the sick, by feeding the hungry, by welcoming the stranger, by visiting the prisoner. We can finish.
Yes, we are called to heal the sick, and we will be judged by how we treated folks who are sick and in prison, or folks on the outs. You never know who might be an angel, and where you are personally called to show a personal act of love and charity. Saved by grace, through faith, that works in love. No argument there. But to make the leap of, that's why we got to pass the public option. Well, was that why Jesus healed the sick? Is that why when Jesus, upon hearing of the death, the awful death of John the Baptist, his beheading, that he goes and wishes to be alone, but then all sorts of folks find him, and so he takes pity on these crowds and heals them? Is that why Jesus heals those folks? So that someday, later, there would be a particular political policy end? No. When Jesus healed the sick, he wasn't making a policy statement. Number one, he was demonstrating his divinity. These miracles were signs that he truly was the Son of God. He's also fulfilling messianic prophecy, like Isaiah 35, 5 through 6. That part of Isaiah foretold the Messiah would open blind eyes and unstop deaf ears. He's also offering a foretaste of, again, he says this a lot, the kingdom of God is at hand. Repent. Repent, James, repent. It's a foretaste of the coming kingdom. The kingdom at hand. Physical healing was a visible sign of the deeper spiritual healing he came to bring. And of course, it expressed his love, his true compassion, his true charity, not obligation. He healed personally. through institution. To say that we need a particular modern healthcare public policy because of the healing miracles is just, well, it's apples and oranges. Jesus was not operating as a government or a government program. He was God incarnate, acting in sovereign freedom and love. No one had a quote-unquote right to be healed by Jesus. Let me say that again. No one had a quote-unquote right to be healed by Jesus. He healed out of mercy for the glory of the Father. So, since I'm a Catholic, what do Catholics say about healthcare? Well, I mean, the church does say, especially like governing authorities, but all sorts of different types of authority, not just government, need to do things in the name of the common good. Like if there are various particular competing interests and different groups are poor, different groups are richer, different capabilities across the board, is the job of authority at all sorts of different levels, not just the federal level and not just the government level, to pursue the common good. And part of pursuing the common good makes sense, includes like basic necessities like healthcare. So every person has inherent dignity, is made in the image of God. And so, yeah, we should have basic care for the sick. This is why most of your hospitals are founded by Christians. We are supposed to have solidarity with the whole community, individuals, families, churches, businesses, yes, governments, to care for the sick. But the church also says there's this principle called subsidiarity. It's often ignored. That problems should be solved at the lowest possible level of society. The family first, then the local community, then civil associations, then local government, then national government. The state should not absorb what smaller communities can handle better. We don't want to build the Tower of Babel. We want to rebuild the walls like Nehemiah. And socialization, like, we do have a responsibility to one another, does not mean socialism. So the church, of course, I'm referring to the church I go to, the Catholic Church, is not calling for a government monopoly on healthcare. It calls for a culture of care, and it's not really even calling for a particular policy point of view. But when you heard Tallarico say there that healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Well, let's be precise. The church would say healthcare is a moral claim rooted in human dignity, meaning everybody in society has a real obligation to ensure people are not left to die without care. But a quote-unquote right, that you have a right to something, Catholic social thought and as well as a lot of political theory, is not the same as a government entitlement. So a moral right is a claim grounded in human dignity that imposes a duty on others to respond charitably. A legal political right, a government-enforced entitlement funded by mandatory taxation and administered by the state. The church affirms the first, does not mandate the second. The how of delivering health care is left to, and there's a lot of things that fall under this umbrella, prudential judgment, meaning there are Catholics of good faith who can disagree on whether a single-payer system, a market system, a hybrid, or a church-led model is the best way to fulfill this moral obligation. Point is, it seems a little silly to say because Jesus gave sight to the blind and hearing to the deaf and cured those who had long been crippled and raised Lazarus from the dead, that means we need to have a public option. That's silly. That, in fact, avoids all of what our moral duty demands, which is prudential judgment. It's not a very discerning argument. But there's also, especially, since I am Catholic, the Catholic Church is pretty crystal clear on certain things when it comes to healthcare. And this is where James Tallarico really loses me. Because Jesus healed people, sir, because even those that had enough faith to go and touch the tassels on his cloak were also healed. Does that mean you can take my taxpayer dollars and have it fund somebody killing a child in a womb? Because Jesus cared for the sick and the poor. because he said pick up your mat and walk, does that mean you can take money through taxation and have it fund programs that essentially mutilate people's bodies in the name of, say, gender-affirming care? Is that right, James Tallarico? What do you mean by health care, man? Because there's a lot of stuff that passes as health care in this country that doesn't seem to actually be something that heals the sick. It actually seems to make us sicker, physically and spiritually. The church affirms no healthcare system may fund or provide abortion, sterilization, or euthanasia. It's not care, it's killing. It's murder. No healthcare worker may be compelled to violate their conscience. Religious liberty is non-negotiable. No system may be used as a vehicle for population control. So the moral rights are very clear. How do you actually administer healthcare? We all have problems in healthcare, including in the state of Alabama. But the bottom line is Jesus, healing the sick, reveals the heart of God towards our suffering. His infinite compassion, his overabundant, superabundant compassion, personal love, and the restoration of dignity. If, of course, we repent. It does not say you've got to have more government bureaucracy, or less even for that matter. So, I didn't want to do it, but James Tallarico got me going there. And it's, guy gives me the creeps. But what is that to me at the end of the day? Beyond him running for office, I wish him well. Dare I say I'd even pray for the man, that he actually sees the fullness of the truth. Because right now he seems to be using part of the truth to push something, well, that contradicts it. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Looking for insurance, or maybe you're just not satisfied with your current carrier? How does quality coverage with local service and competitive rates sound to you? The folks at Stark Agency offer just that. Whether you need insurance for your business, car, home, or life, Stark Agency can help. As an independent insurance agency with over 20 of the top insurance carriers, Stark is sure to find the perfect match for you and your loved ones. Visit their site at starkagency.com or give them a call at 334-263-5535 for a quote today.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson with the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. Here are several ways to attract more buyers to your home. First, price it right to sell, not to sit. An accurate market analysis will tell you what price it should be. Next, prepare the home to show and sell by deep cleaning by a professional cleaner, including carpet. Declutter all rooms, including closets. Evaluate flooring, replace if needed. Paint inside and out where needed. And make the kitchen and bath sparkle. How about the exterior? Are the colors faded on the shutters or fascia? Power washing them and all sidewalks and driveways and patios prior to listing the house. Remember, your price and curb appeal will create a showing appointment. Your condition of the house will make them stay and look longer and buy quicker. For all the steps you need to take to get your house ready for sale, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 334-221-2883 or 334-551-0225.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Truckers, listen up. A $2,500 sign-on bonus only at Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Work for a company that puts God and family first. 855-777-9785. Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. It's a pretty standard, fairly routine forecast for the early part of August. Rain chances are, minimal, and the evening storms fade out with the overnight low temperature tonight down to about 72, mostly clear skies. Tomorrow, a good bit of sunshine. Again, a few spotty afternoon and evening showers and storms here and there. And I think by the middle of the week, temperatures will start to edge back closer to the middle 90s, with triple-digit heat indices returning. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Ray Bowles is indisposed at the moment. He's tied up with something. So, before I forget, this part of the program brought to you by Prattville Carpet. They're at Prattville Carpet. They can come and do a free in-home measurement for any sort of resurface job you want to do. Maybe new carpet in the bedroom. Could be you want to lay down ceramic tile in the bathroom or the kitchen. And, of course, traditional hardwood, luxury vinyl plank. They can really do it all there at Prattville Carpet. So just call them up. 285-8117 is their number. And when you call them up at 285-8117, be sure to tell them that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. Let's go to Uncle Ron. Hey, Uncle Ron, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, in reference to the Isaiah scripture where Jesus would heal the blind and cause the deaf to hear, that is in my opinion, is kind of twofold. In one prophecy, he indeed literally healed the blind, opened the ears of the deaf, but also opened the eyes of those who were not physically blind to see the truth.
Like Paul or like Saul on the road to Damascus, scale fell. Eventually the scale fell from his eye.
Yeah, but there's also like Nicodemus.
Yeah.
You know, he understood after his eyes were opened. And then to be able to hear that word, you know, and understand what it meant. And that can only be given by the Holy Spirit, that understanding.
No, I love what you just said. There is the literal healings, but the spiritual opening of eyes and ears. And for those of us that weren't there, we didn't get the chance to be like Thomas. Let me put my fingers in your wounds. We believe by hearing what we hear.
And then I got one question that's a little bit different but being you're a Catholic, and I don't mean this in a bad way, okay? I'm not knocking the Catholic Church or anything like that. But where in scriptures does it say to pray to Mary?
Well, you would ask one of your friends to pray for you, right?
Yeah, but that friend is alive and well-being.
Yeah, we believe that you pray to the saints or to Mary and that they can intercede and pray on your behalf. And in particular, the church teaches that Mary was assumed body and soul into heaven, and is the highest of creatures above the angels. And so,
I know the scripture says that blessed art thou among women.
Right.
But I don't ever remember seeing where she ascended, and I might be wrong.
No, I don't think you find that direct in scripture. The coronation of her as Queen of Heaven, they would point to Revelation, the woman in Revelation. But, you know, I won't pretend like I'm some very skilled Catholic apologist. I'm more trying to be obedient.
There you go. The Lord likes obedience better than sacrifice.
Well, and just on a common sense basis, it's like a lot of Catholics will point to the wedding miracle at Cana, where Mary foresees the problem they have. They've run out of wine. And then she tells the folks, like, do whatever he tells you. So it's kind of that relationship of like, if I got an issue, it doesn't hurt if you really want to, you know, ask somebody something maybe you ask their mom too.
Yeah. You know, it blows my mind that she knew. I wonder at what time she actually had that revelation that, I mean, the angel told her she's going to give birth to the Son of God. But at what time did she actually say, "Wow, this really is"? You know?
Oh, I
mean,
you got to wonder, is it when the shepherd boys show up at the with Jesus in the manger, or the wise men, or the magi? Or is it when Simeon gives his prophecy?
Right.
Like, you do have to wonder, like, when did it fully hit her? I don't know, without getting too personal here, because it's more experiential. It's not like an argument. I credit, let's say, Mary as leading me back to Jesus in a lot of ways. And I think it somewhat has to do with losing my own mom, earthly mother. And when I look back on the little things, I don't have time to explain every little detail, but let's just say there were dreams and certain things that happened that were definitely a mother that was leading me back to Christ. And so I can't deny that. And it's been very powerful for me personally.
That's cool, because you have a notable change, Joey. And I think that's wonderful. And, and, too, going back to your dreams, it says in the scriptures that your young man shall dream dreams, have visions. So, I ain't going to doubt nobody's dream, if they feel like they heard from God. But if you can match it on the scriptures, which salvation does, then, hey, there you go.
Well, amen. Well, and I appreciate you asking, too. I'm part of me wants to get better at the apologetics side of stuff, but I enjoy the conversation. People at least caring about and talking about it.
Thanks, Joey. And you be blessed, brother.
God bless. Thanks, man. 272-9228. It's 334-272-9228. So what did we learn today? The corporate press is full of crap. Like that RFK Jr. thing was incredible with Dana Bash. Him really just calling her out about the role she in particular and CNN in general play during COVID, and how they're continuing to try to play that role with the experts say game when they can't even really cite what the experts are saying beyond their, pull quotes. We learned Islam's false. That's my main beef with it. There's all sorts of great political arguments. And I think saying, actually the Constitution will be the supreme law of the land, Sharia law is banned. It will not take precedence over our laws. It's a pretty good thing. But my general, beyond the questions of immigration and should people be suspicious, people in the West suspicious of Islam? No, I think the suspicion and fear goes both ways. For me, it comes down to Islam's false. And even the Christians that are more liberal and want to show tolerance to everybody, which ain't the worst thing in the world, I would like to hear them more often say Jesus Christ is Lord, and Islam denies that. Contradicts that in a pretty profound way. We also learned about, healthcare. And James Tallarico's, again, very twisted use of the scriptures. And you also got me to play guitar badly. I admit it. I got nervous. I hadn't been nervous on the air in a while. But it's always something new. Anyway, y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg Budell, I believe David Blackman, man with the 10-gallon brain, the big brain. They are next, so y'all stay tuned.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Trump said the massive attack on Iran that he held off on remains an option.